Here are a few interview clips taken from audience members from after the show on WVIA.
Hi there. Today we're with
Kathleen Erickson Cruz.
Kathleen. We just watched the presentation on television, and we would like to find out if you have any further comments or concerns.
Well, there's a lot to be lost. I don't really know what's to be gained, but it's not by any of the children that attend that school to their benefit. As well as, I believe all the school itself and its property were originally donated over 129 years ago. So if all this land was donated and the government chose to take it over, then why is it now that they can no longer support it?
Exactly.
If not, give it back. At least give them the opportunity to become self-supporting.
Exactly. Empower them.
Right, and find ways and opportunities to be empowered to do just that, instead of taking something that wasn't theirs to begin with and saying, okay, you know what, we're going to find something to do with this amazing architectural structure, first of all, and do what with it? Either rip it down or make it something else for somebody else.
I believe they already have plans on already turning it into something else, and that's the sad part. Do we take the children out of a natural environment that they can actually excel and empower them to become leaders? We don't even have that in our regular schools.
No. I have another daughter, child who's hearing, and as much as she enjoys school, I know that her teacher does not have her well-being solely as his interest.
Exactly. So there's more loss than there is to be gained by this decision, obviously.
Absolutely.
Right. And personally, I believe that sign language should be the language they teach you before they try to teach you English, so you have at least some idea what you're going into when you're getting taught English, the representation.
Right.
Because it's a language, and we really should be taught it.
And even with babies and so forth, my daughter being hearing, she had at least a 75 to 100 word vocabulary before she ever spoke a word.
There you go. Perfect. That's great.
And
that's perfect.
Well, I'm Sister Miriam Pfeiffer from Marywood University. I direct the music therapy program.
Very good.
At Marywood University.
Okay, great.
In Scranton, Pennsylvania. And my students would be deprived because they have been learning from the students at the State School for the Deaf for at least 30 years that I'm aware of. And I think that whole dimension of the students who are becoming professionals that can further the education of students who are born deaf, or those with cochlear implants, whom I've worked very long with, teaching them how to socialize properly through music, and also giving them an opportunity to learn to communicate after their implant has been, they've gone through that. So we would really be deprived, as well as the students would be. Our future therapists, the speech pathology department, the special ed department, and certainly the music therapy students. I've done a bit of research with preschoolers using cochlear implants, and my students, I know, would be just deprived as well.
Yeah. Can I please ask you, what are your concerns does get closed, and how will this affect your life?
Okay, suppose the school closes. How would that affect my life? It would affect the entire deaf community. My main concern is the deaf children. Where are they going to go? Where are the resources to teach the deaf children? We talk about sending them to a mainstream school. Now, where are the qualified individuals who can teach the deaf in a public school? Do we have enough interpreters available to interpret in the public schools? Pennsylvania has a law that requires interpreters to pass the EIPA, which stands for the Educational Interpreters Assessment Performance Assessment. They must have a 3.5 or above. Do we have enough who have passed? Unfortunately, we do not. I have a feeling that the Department of Ed is aware of that number, the limited resources of interpreters we have, but they're not willing to share that information. I think somebody has to check with them. I happen to work in an interpreter referral agency, and we don't have enough interpreters for the entire area. We have about 250 interpreters in the whole state of Pennsylvania that are certified. So to meet the demand all over Pennsylvania, it's not going to happen. That's going to be an issue, and that's one of my concerns. Also, deaf children who are mainstreamed don't always benefit. If they can speak and interact with their peers, they're fine, but some deaf children can't, and it holds them back in their education with their peers. They don't have the interaction or the socialization. But the deaf school, they have wonderful peer interaction. I graduated from a deaf school. I didn't learn from a book. I didn't always learn from the teacher, but I always learned from interacting with my peers, social development, knowing what's right and what's wrong, what's acceptable behavior. That really added to my self-esteem. Suppose the school closes? I think it's a terrible idea. I think they need to think twice about this decision before they cut the budget. There are other cuts that can be made, things that are not needed, but not this school.